Welcome to Evercast Weekly. We are your one-stop shop for anything Evermore related. We're just a bunch of geeks that love to talk about Evermore. We're not associated officially with Evermore. Today, we're going to be talking about our recap from last weekend in Aurora 2020. I'm Pitt.
I'm Robin.
I'm Kazan.
I'm Morgan.
And I'm Slav.
Before we get started, we have a special guest with us, Princess Adelaide.
Well, hello. My name is Chantel. Most people know me in Park as Princess Adelaide of Westbrook. When people ask me where Westbrook is, I say, it's to the west. Gets a good laugh out of people. But I was invited on to let people know about an exciting podcast that I have. It's called T.A.L.E.N.T.E.D. It's an acronym. Yeah, an acronym is obnoxious. It's the amazing, legendary, exquisite, notable, talented, entertaining discussion. That's why we made it an acronym. But basically, each week we sit down with talented individuals, and coming up this Saturday, the 19th, I had the chance to sit down with Callie Gate from the park, better known as Wen Weaver or Reba, to get some behind the scenes a little bit on some popular nights known as the night Evermore stood still and the darkest night. Just some little background behind the scenes things that went on and some shenanigans that have gone down in Park. I'm excited for people to hear it. If you want to give it a listen, it's available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, many major podcast directories.
Wonderful. So our recap is for the nights December 12th through the 14th, for any of those who are listening to this later on in the season. Let's start off with some of our new characters. Let's start with Sachi. He is one of my new favorites. Who wants to talk about Sachi?
So when I first met Sachi, Kiku and Sachi were talking about each other as if they were the same person. Mm-hmm. I am here. They are there. I went around the corner. It was a lot of fun. They have a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot.
They're like court jesters, kind of. It's the kind of feeling I get from it.
And it's interesting because if you talk to male cheer, that is, he will explain that difficulty they have with saying things like I, me, and getting that mixed up with each other. That's a sign that most likely they have most recently split from the collective. And one of them, probably Sachi, because we've met Tiku before. They have split and a new specialty has been created because I guess archai all start as one big generalization. And as it learns to create a separate entity, will split off until you have multiple archai, I guess, that specialize in certain things. So with the cheers, she does animals, he does plants, for example.
Awesome. And I think Pitt has a story here, right, Pitt?
Yeah, it's hard to get information from them clearly because they're
hard
all over the place. I asked Sachi when they split, and he said 7 million years ago. But then he also said he's been at Evermore for millions of years. So I think their concept of time is a little skewed. Who knows?
And they can't count very well. Anytime I asked them anything numerical, they had a really hard time with that. And it was all over the place. I would ask how many other archai there were on Dayloth. They would be like 5, and this one's 30. I think this one's 300, and I think 700. Or it was crazy.
Yeah, they kind of remind me of like the fairies or the mermaids, just that chaotic, fun-loving character, which I feel the park always needs. I enjoy characters like that. Although I had kind of a fun experience with them on Friday. They were going around saying barter, barter, barter. Did you guys hear?
Yes.
Trying to trade junk for things that people had, specifically guild cards. They were collecting guild initiation cards. They were going around with their Coven guild cards as if they were private investigators, saying, where were you on the night of 107th? And just complete nonsense, acting official, making a big joke out of it. I think it was Tiku told me to trade some rocks with the Coven to get one myself. So I went over to Kulin and gave her a rock and said, barter, barter, barter. And she gave me a Coven initiation card.
Remember, you got to read that card very carefully. It says, not official.
Yeah, it does. It does. Although I didn't see it very long because as soon as I showed it to Sachi, he took it from me and ran off with it.
What's funny is they went to a place gathering all the cards. So it went from official Coven to official Coven Bard night. It was glorious.
They're fun characters. I really love how silly they are. Getting any information out of them is a riot because they are constantly contradicting themselves and just saying silly things. I highly recommend, if you haven't met them, to find them, talk to them. They're all dressed in black and purple. Very, very fun characters.
They are very fun characters. There is a little bit of interesting information that I didn't hear directly from them, but from people around the park is, well, they are here for the exact same reason that the Cheers are, to save Evermore. But there can only be one that can save Evermore. And so they keep telling the Cheers that they're being evicted.
And you ask them how they would save Evermore, and they say the opposite of whatever Cheer would do. You know, it'll be better than whatever Cheer would do.
Wow.
There's some rivalry there. So as a town, we need to choose which archai we'd like to have.
I still think you got to wait a week. I still think there's going to be more. Yeah.
I brought my daughter on Saturday, and Sachi told her to go talk to Cheer about their extended planet warranty. And we were talking about that with T.A.L.E.N.T.E, and she's like, that would make her really sad. We probably shouldn't do that. To see Cheer sad, no, we don't want to do that to them.
He actually handles it a lot better than his sister does.
Yes. I was trying to remember what Cheer told me, checking my notes really quickly, that there's a name you can use when you want to talk to female Cheer and have a serious conversation. Because her name is Fashme, right?
Yes.
So if you call her...
Is that Maymay?
I think it might be. But he said it was like the way a parent would use a child's full name when they're being disciplined, you know? And so you don't ever use it lightly. It's got to be very serious.
It sounds like they both have many names, although Dietis actually has a last name and a brother, so you might want to ask him about that. It might be canon, FYI.
Something that I was asking Dietis about is whether or not he can create a plant with a soul, because Natan needs to eat a soul, right? He's a Ottoman. And so we had a really interesting conversation with Dietis about how the size of the plant determines the size of the soul or essence that's in it and whether or not it would be nourishing for him. And so he would need to eat a lot of plants, but yes, plants have souls, and so he could theoretically eat those. All right, let's visit some of these other characters. Pitt, you've got a few you'd like to talk about.
I've been trying to find the names of meet all of the new characters that are in the play. There's so many more that I haven't met yet because they're usually in the play. There's a few more that I met this week. We've got Avery. I forget the last name. Avery plays Ghost of Christmas Past. At least one of them lives in the outskirts of Evermore, like most of these characters. Let's see. We've got Finn. Finn, actually, I think it's the same Finn that was here previous. That was he a street sweeper or something like that? Chimney sweep. Yes. I didn't realize it was the same guy. He's playing Cratchit. It's Finn.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
The Cratchit I met was the Schumacher one.
Okay. Yes. And then let's see. We got Foch. Like Watch.
Foch.
One of the Gravediggers. And again, they're hilarious. I love the Gravediggers.
Who do they play in the...
They are Gravediggers. I think they're Gravediggers inside and out.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Does anyone else know any of the townspeople that we haven't mentioned?
Simon, did you guys talk about Simon last week or last broadcast?
Maybe briefly.
What about the one that
I got to talk to Simon a little bit more this week. So apparently Simon has a family. He has a wife and a daughter that's living just outside the barrier. And when he came to Evermore to do the play, that's when he got stuck here. They keep telling him, don't go near the barrier because we don't know if you'll die or not with the barrier shrinking. All he really wants to do is to have the barrier fixed so he can go home to his wife and child and his candle making business.
It's so sad. He's a very melancholy sort of fellow.
He needs to talk to Alice. I talked to her this weekend and she's still throwing rocks over to Dorian, who's on the other side of the barrier. So I guess that's still working.
It says he has to yell a little louder for her to hear him, but yeah, they're still communicating. He's a bit worried about her being so close to the border, but you know, Alice, she's gonna do what she wants.
Oh, I didn't realize that Fezziwig was Jimmy.
Oh,
yes. I'm so around in town. So Jimmy used to be the train conductor before Evermore was taken away off of the earth. And then he was working for the circus for a long time. And when the circus left town at the end of Lore, they gave him quite a severance package, evidently. So now he is a man of leisure. That's never happened before because he's been working since he was 8 with the railroad industry in one form or another. So now he's very happy to just bestow philanthropy on others. So if you're in town, Jimmy is looking for other locals who could use a charitable gift to help them this Christmas season. If you get to know him and help make arrangements possible, then you can deliver that gift. From what I understand, you can go together and make this delivery, which sounds super fun. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited, but he's delightful. All right. Any other characters?
Not a new character, but the Knights did have a couple of meetings this weekend to determine who, as a guild, we wanted to support when it comes to the archai. So the Knights got together on, I want to say, Friday and Saturday night. The first meeting, we determined who we'd like to support, if we wanted to support the Cheers or if we wanted to support the Mischiefs. And we voted unanimously in favor of the Cheers. Our reasons being that the Cheers have said that if they become our archai, that they have an island that they came from, and that there are other little islands floating around Evermore in the Endless Sea that they could bring together. And it could become more land for farming, tree growth, animals, things like that. And that they could also obviously help with the plants and the animals based on their abilities. Some of the things we didn't like about the Mischiefs, where we heard that there were reports that they had been telling some of the world walkers that they saw humans as vermin. We wanted an archai that appreciated the Evermorians and world walkers just a little bit more. With the Cheers not having a home world to go back to, we know that the Mischiefs have T.A.L.E.N.T.E.D. With the Cheers not having somewhere to go back to, we felt that they would, what's the word I'm looking for?
They'd be fully invested.
Yes. Yes, they would. Thank you. They'd be more invested towards Evermore because it would be their only home.
I like that reasoning. Thank you for sharing that.
But neither pair decided on telling anybody what they get out of helping Evermore. And both sets skirt around that issue.
Something for digging.
Yeah, every time someone asks, they're like, well, I ask, and then they answer another question. And it's the same for both of them, not just the Mischiefs and not just the Cheers. So...
let's talk about the prank wars. So, Leon, you know something about a snipe hunt with the Blackhearts.
So, Friday night, the Blackhearts were their first prank that night. They decided to put rocks on the Coven's table. Sly got in trouble for that one. The world walkers would come tell T.A.L.E.N.T.E.D, like, if somebody says you're looking for a snipe, they're not real, don't fall for it. And I was in the Coven talking to T.A.L.E.N.T.E about what's going on with the prank war and just trying to pick her brain a little bit more about ranking up in the Coven. And I saw Francis and Hef come walking in, hunting, looking for something. And I'm like, hey, T.A.L.E.N.T.E, the Blackhearts are here. And they're like, oh, T.A.L.E.N.T.E, there's a dangerous snipe around here. They're little furry birds. They go straight for the jugular. We need to put our differences aside. We need to find this snipe. And everybody's like, T.A.L.E.N.T.E, it's not real. Don't fall for it. She's like, but what if it, she's like, all right, I'll help you guys hunt, because she has telekinesis and Titus wasn't in town. So they go wandering above. They're hunting all around the burrows, going up on top of the burrows. And they're like, oh, here it is. And they throw this stuffed animal at T.A.L.E.N.T.E.
Oh, I missed that part.
And she's like, oh my God, how dare I fall for this? Ah! For the rest of the night, she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I fell for that. Everybody warned me and I can't believe I fell for it.
That's nice. I saw the beginning of the snipe hunt and then had to leave. I didn't get to see the end. I'm so glad you were there. So we have the Coven also pranking the Blackhearts. So as a pirate, I was connected with Winnie, is our portmaster, and she had mentioned that T.A.L.E.N.T.E had ordered 2 tons of glitter through the port from the Endless Sea. So it was really fun to arrange that handoff between Winnie and T.A.L.E.N.T.E.
And technically, the pirates are neutral in this prank war.
Yeah,
technically, so are the Knights.
So basically, what I'm hearing is that the pirates work for whoever pays them to bring in stuff.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, no.
It was really fun, though. I had a brand new world walker that I was taking around that night, and they let him be the one to plan the location for the handoff and the distraction for the handoff. And so it was really fun to see this teenage boy do a diversion that he came up with himself. He was so proud of himself. He had a wonderful, wonderful time. So I'm really grateful they roped him into the storyline like that. They took the glitter cannon over to the Blackhearts, and I believe on Thursday, the Mischief duo were the ones that did the cannon. And then on Friday...
No, T.A.L.E.N.T.E and Tiku.
T.A.L.E.N.T.E. There we go.
Did it one night.
That's right. It was very fun. Glitter everywhere at the Blackheart hovel. Very fun prank.
Also, the glitter had a secondary spell upon it.
That's right.
So Friday night, it made Nigel, who is their ghost specialist, since Coolins like, well, since he wants to see ghosts, he gets to see ghosts. And so he gets to see ghosts all night.
Oh, dear.
Were these ghosts represented by performers in the town that night, or were these things that only he could see and World Walkers couldn't?
Only he could see.
Just him.
Interesting.
So the confetti, each piece was actually like a little spell, correct?
I believe so.
That's what I said. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, it's important to note that according to the archive mentioned, using magic in Evermore is actually making the shrinkage of the border quicker.
Yep.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Yep.
Shoots and magoots.
According to T.A.L.E.N.T.E D, it's not a big deal.
They brought it up to Coolin about using magic as depleting the ley. She's like, with these pranks, use such a small amount, it doesn't really matter, according to Coolin.
So we,
Go ahead.
in the second meeting, so the second meeting that the Knights had on Saturday, we talked about that. Evidently, the Cheers are extremely concerned about the prank war now. They thought it was funny at first, and then they realized that the Coven was using magic to prank the Blackhearts. And they said that every little bit of magic does matter because the barrier is shrinking little by little each day. And the more ley that we use, or the more it shrinks each day, or it speeds up, whatever. We spoke to Coolin about that. We actually pulled Coolin as an honorary knight into the meeting and kind of discussed that with her. And she seemed to be a little bit more concerned. She didn't want to trust the Cheers as much. She leaned a little bit more towards the mischiefs because with the Cheers being so concerned about the magic usage, she was afraid that they would put restrictions on the magic users. So Rafeld and I were able to go talk to Dietis, and we're like, hey, Coven's really concerned that if we pick you guys, you're going to restrict magic use, not just for like maybe a little bit, but maybe forever. He's like, we're not trying to restrict it at all. Even if we do become the archai, we don't want to put those kind of restrictions on the Coven or any magic user. We just want to make sure that people understand the dangers of using that much magic, even a little bit, until the barrier's fixed.
Awesome. Thank you for that input, Katie.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Nigel. He is noticing some sort of spirit, shadow, or ghost on the edges of town. Sly, I think you might have some information on that.
Well, it was just all he said was, hey guys, it's feeling that I have entities out there. Try to get folks to look into that.
Now, was this the same night that he got pranked?
It might, I believe so, but it was different.
Okay.
This was Thursday because I didn't
So-
have my little companion with me.
Okay.
So it was.
So it might have been the different day, but
Mhm.
even if it was the same day, the way he described this thing was different than when he described seeing the ghosts. The ghosts were there. He could see them. They were all staring at him, but this entity was out there. It was more something he could sense, he could feel.
Mhm.
He didn't actually see. So he was encouraging people to look into that.
Because he couldn't. He wanted to go on patrol to learn more,
Yeah.
and he wasn't allowed to for some reason. I asked if it was the same darkness that Cassandra saw in her dream, and he said it's definitely not the same thing. But he wanted to know more about its intent or motives or something like that. All right, Sly, tell us a little bit about Heron and what's going on.
Well, it's interesting. People were saying that Heron isn't talking to Francis, but in fact, I know that Heron would like to get to on Francis's good side. Does Francis have a good side? Get to know Francis better.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah, and so there's only 2 rangers, and I guess it's because of the range. There's just a bunch of people always there, so Heron doesn't get a lot of opportunity to leave and go do much that they want to do. But they have, on occasion, talked to Francis, offered their services for the prank wars, but I haven't seen a whole lot come of it because Francis isn't in town a lot and Heron's busy quite a bit.
And according to Willow on this subject, she said Heron does not have very good skills for flirting, and there's a little crush there on Francis. And so she wants all the World Walkers to put in a good word to Francis about Heron to help out with this. Anything else there?
I have major beef with Francis. She lied to me to my face this week.
Ooh.
Not cool. Not cool.
Oh, no.
That's all I'm going to say.
You don't want to share more?
Well, it was about the heist. I know that they're trying to protect themselves, but after talking to her for like 20 minutes, she finally like lowers her voice and says, okay, I trust you, Pitt. I'm going to tell you the truth. And then she blatantly lied again.
Well, I would love to know what her version of the events is, unless it's top secret.
She says that Titus was out looking for the werewolf that was in the hunt area. She says that herself as well as Hef were in the Blackheart area. And we have photographic evidence that it was not Hef. It was it Driner dressed as Hef?
Oh, right.
Yeah. And so she said that both of them were in the Blackheart area. And she thinks that T.A.L.E.N.T.E is the one that orchestrated the whole thing. For some reason, it doesn't make sense. I don't understand what her reasoning is.
That's a bummer. I am trying to solve that storyline as well, because if it was Titus, I want to know why he did it.
Yeah.
But he broke a treaty if he did, which is really a dagger to the heart, because then justice steps in and he's a goner.
Well, I like what Snick said about this whole thing, because I asked him, how would you go about fixing this? And Snick's, and I can't do word for word, but he's just like, people are kind of trying to force an apology from the Blackhearts. Not going to work. Better approach is something to the effect of, I thought we were friends, that hurt, and walk away. And that's not word for word. Snicks, if you're listening to this, I apologize. But it's more of stop with the pranks, stop with the you owe me an apology, and actually say, hey, this hurt. Because there's a lot of things that the Coven is saying, like, all you had to do was ask. That's not true. There was no way they were going to give up that sword. Honestly, if we could help them understand that they hurt their friends' feelings, we'll probably get a response. But we're not. That's not what we're focusing on. We're focusing on pranks. Great. Christmas cheer. Yay!
Did anyone see Kiva apologize to the Coven? It was on Saturday. Kiva came to the Coven and apologized, admitting that they did have some input in the heist, and she was there to apologize.
Nice. Katie, tell us a little bit about the card reading that you saw with Ozzie and Cassandra.
Oh, yeah. So I'm not sure who orchestrated that. I want to say it was Audrey who asked Ozzie if he wanted to get a reading done. There is a video. I'm going to post a video probably tonight. If you're watching this, it was posted a few days ago. Yeah, so Ozzie got a reading from Cassandra, and it basically talked about his past, which we all know about. He used to be the inspector. He did some really shady things, got involved with Maxwell, people died. So she basically said that and you'll have to watch the video for full facts, but basically told him about his past, but said one of the most important things I thought was said that his future could still be determined by him. And that to achieve whatever he wanted in the future, to kind of what I got from it, to achieve that good ending for himself, he had to let his past life burn away and just had to let it go. And Ozzie, if you guys have talked to him at all or overheard a conversation, he regrets basically everything that he's ever done in his life, and he thinks that he should die for it. I know Audrey is involved, and I know that there's a couple of other World Walkers that are heavily involved with trying to get him to see that he doesn't have to die, that there are other ways for him to kind of make up for what he's done.
And I understand he's trying to make amends in town, that he's in town helping Marzi slide. You want to tell us about that?
He was trying to figure out how to get on the town's good graces, and he was saying that, or we were telling him that there's not a whole lot of people that hate him that are in town currently. At that point, Thaddeus and Ron, Piper, like Vela, Nightshade, like most of the people that were there as the things were going down are out of town. And then he mentioned Willow, Marcy, a couple others, mostly the fact that Lily, Dervol's sister, since he took part in that, or he was the reason why she died, he was saying that this is going to be probably the biggest thing that keeps people from accepting him. So he asked some of us to go talk to Willow. We were mentioning things, and he was saying that he's helping Marzi fix her shop, and he's enjoying is probably not the right word, but he was helping out. He was glad to do it. And that if we come across anybody in town that is having a hard time with him, if we can find something that he can do on their behalf to kind of show that he's had a change of heart, let him know.
Was he arrested at one point?
He is actually under Thaddeus's watch. He is arrested. He is supposedly under house arrest.
Wasn't he in the Tower of London?
Yes.
I thought so.
It was. I believe somebody's going to have to fact check me on this, but I believe one of the Greys was able to pull some strings to allow him 30 days to get his affairs in order before he's to be executed. So he has until the end of the month.
Interesting.
If I can, on the heels of that, I did talk to Alice, who is unsure if she wants to talk to him. It sounds like Ozymandias just wants to leave that up to her if she's willing to talk or not. And then I did talk to Philip Humphrey to kind of gauge how he felt about it. And he is actually very willing to give Ozymandias a chance.
Really?
He says that he and Ozymandias never really saw eye to eye before everything went down, but he said that he seems to be wanting to make a change and he's willing to give him that chance.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
I mean, I feel like he's going to have to do more than fix a roof to redeem himself from murder.
It's got to be a significant thing. I agree.
Multiple murders.
Killing an innocent. There's really no coming back from that. But at least I think at this point, it's him showing that he is full of remorse and regret and wishes he hadn't done it. So there's at least that him trying to show Evermore that he's sorry.
Yeah.
I hear there was some really fun things happening with Willow and Cheer. Chantel, I think you have the details on that one.
Yeah. So it was Saturday night, and I kept overhearing people asking Willow, like, what she wants in a man and what she's looking for. And I was a bit confused, but I just tried to go find a warm fire because it was freezing on Saturday. And it got to one point in the night where Antonio, he was walking by and Sly made a comment about him. And Willow's like, oh, he's nice. And I asked her, I was like, why are people trying to set you up? And I guess there was some sort of agreement between her and Alice that if she went on a date, she would wear a dress. Willow would wear a dress.
That got actually clarified. It's while she's courting. So it's not just a date. They have to actually be courting.
Yes. But I think people were understanding that, let's get her in a date so we can get her in a dress. And so, but we just got going along the conversation. I was like, well, is there anyone you fancy in town? And she's like, well, Cheer is nice. And so I was like, if we can set this up, do you agree? And she's like, yes, hesitantly, but she said yes. So a little bit later in the night, we ran into Cheer. We were trying to explain to him the concept of a date. Sly was failing really bad at doing it, and so I had to explain it to him. And so we explained the meaning behind a date and what you would do on a date.
I still don't think he understands, but that's the point.
He goes to ask awkward and uncomfortable questions, so we stop him immediately in his tracks.
Yes.
Sly gives him a pep talk. I give Willow a pep talk because she was stunned by the question. He proceeds to ask her on an official date. So they were scheduled to go on a date on Monday at noon. So we'll see if that happened or not.
Later, Alice got her to agree to makeup. Well, they had a makeup party, I guess. And if she felt like she looked good enough, she was going to wear the makeup. Marzi was going to help her bake something. So she was going to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to bake some kind of bread.
This is all happening Monday. We're not going to see it?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
So while we were discussing all these plans and details, Willow was starting to freak out a little bit more. And then it was brought up to her attention that she would have to flirt. And she was really freaked out by it. And we were discussing kind of what flirting is. Coolin immediately turns around and was like, flirting? Do you want to know what flirting and how to flirt? And Coolin starts explaining flirting to Willow as she's touching her elbow, fixing the brim of her hood, touching her chin. And it was just Sly said, you've definitely killed people with this, haven't you?
Yeah. How many people have you killed doing this? Yep.
I am so sad I missed that.
Marzi was like, that's not how you flirt. And at one point, Coolin starts flirting with Marzi. Very much so. Very much so.
Thank you for joining us on this recap of week 2 of Aurora 2020. You can always reach us at evercastweekly@gmail.com. If you have any questions, concerns, ideas, anything you want to see us do, you can reach us there. Please like and subscribe to us. Show us your support so we have more than 6 listeners. We appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much, and we will see you guys next week.
Shut up!
Shoot, my dudes.
I am your host. Sorry, I'm not your host.
Did you guys notice Sly drinking through his cowl?
Yeah, I was gonna ask how much he's getting out of that.
Actually, quite a bit.
Now you've got that dark spot.
I found a way to avoid the dark spot of death on masks.
Oh, how's that?
Maxi pads.
Oh.
I was going to say he wears a black mask, but never mind.
It works.
I would have murdered half of my crew.
Yep.
Yeah.
And fuck. Sorry.
Careful with that one.
We got to keep it at least PG-13.
Oh my gosh.
I think if you say that more than 3 times, it goes right to R. So let's.
Yes. Sweet. I'm worth something. Play around with lighting here.
That's right in the face.
You're over there.
But it's in the face. Okay, there we go.
Sly's here. He's just getting on his own computer.
And then you want her to put your cloak, and she's like, oh wow, this is really warm. Yeah, my cloak was the first thing I made when coming to Evermore, and then I made this dress and many other dresses. So we have the same background. Oh yeah, you should clean that fast. Cool. Hold on a second. Let me use like a wall here. No, yes you do. You need a wall there to keep him away. No, yeah, the wall. Don't do it. Let me see you. I'm the corner. We're not even able to record. It has to be recorded. Why? Oh my gosh, stop. I can't do anything. No, I'm trying to.
If you guys want to see me bother Robin some more, let us know that too.
No.
That would be great.
He's not
Yes.
recording my house
Please,
again.
just ask. Just ask.
Sly, you bother everybody, even without being asked.